see. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Um, Hopefully you can see that.
Yes, I can.
All right, so let's go take a look at. So let's see. Well, you know what? I'm doing this the long way. This is clearly not a finely produced uh, recording, which is okay.
It's all right.
Nobody in Hollywood will be interested in this, so this is purely for education purposes. All right, so so if we go to here, so okay, this is the one we're looking at, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's look at our instructions. So bucketize by weight. Okay, so that one we want to focus on and bucketize by cars by country of origin. Okay. So, the country of origin one, that's interesting. I wonder why that dude. Hmm. Anyway, that's interesting. We don't really need to do anything with country of origin because it's sort of in buckets already. We basically said, there are three different countries that, one might be Canada, two might be, you know, South Korea, and three might be Germany. I don't know, whatever they are. So frankly, the essence of this whole exercise is really dealing with this. Okay.
Okay.
So, what I was mentioning last night, there's sort of the poor man's version, and then we can do the fancy schmancy nested if, which truthfully is both answers will be correct, but it will be life is a lot easier once we learn how to use nested ifs. So, one thing that I like to do when I'm looking at, and we've got, yeah, so we've got about 400 records, more or less. And so, what I like to do just for kicks is to sort of get a sense for what is sort of the composition of this of any particular variable. So, what I can do here, so I'm just going to say, okay. And you don't have to do this, by the way, but I think it helps sort of determine the buckets. Okay. So my minimum is 732. Well, that shouldn't be a surprise. All right. Average. Okay. So the average is 2,900 pounds max.
What shortcut are you using to select all the variables in that column?
Oh man, thank you for asking that, Jackson. Okay, so what I am doing is, of course, equals, in this case, equals max. and then open parentheses, and then I'm clicking on the top of um, that column in the data right under the column header. I'm holding down the shift key, and at the same time I'm hitting the down arrow. Whoops, the end down arrow. And so that
Got it. Okay.
yeah, so that it's just a little shortcut. Um, what am I doing? Whoops. That being able to hit shift and then down arrow, it saves you a lot of frustration. So, this is interesting. So, what do we see? So, what we see is that there's quite a bit of variability, right? Standard deviation says there's a lot of difference between all of these different um, cars. And so the average is about 3,000, but we've got some at 5,000 and we've got one at 700. I guess it's like a go-kart. I don't know. And then standard deviation. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out, okay, what would be these buckets, or I think who said it? I guess it doesn't really matter, but somebody said categories, which is really, I think, a better way to say it than buckets. But so let's say I'm going to say buckets. And so one thing I could do that would be sort of, um, again, sort of low tech, uh, sort of the poor man's version is I could do less than 2,000. So I could go, okay, let's do less than 2,000. And I'm just calling that, I'm just declaring that that bucket exists. And so now I'm pulling that same value all the way down to here. Whoops. Huh. Can't pull it down. All right. Yeah, sometimes Excel's a little too smart for its own good. So now I'm going to highlight the areas that I want, and then I'm going to hit Control V. So now I've got this bucket, and all of these cars, how many of them are there? There are 44, right, that are in this less than 2,000 bucket. Now, I don't know if that's a great selection, but I'm just trying to again, take all of these cars and then categorize them into um, these different categories. Duh. This is a pretty lame explanation. So I'm trying to create these categories so that I can say, oh, okay, I got 44 cars that are less than 2,000 pounds. Okay, well, that's good to know. And that might help me for planning purposes. Okay.
So
Then
then from this, you would make like the bar graphs, I guess. Like you could say like how many things in column E are like under 2000, then you could have like four, then it'd show 44 in the bar graph, then like however many like over under 3000, under 4000, so on. I sort of how I'm understanding it.
that is exactly it. So let's say we're gonna do let's this would be a silly way to do it, but let's say we have less than 2,000 and then we're gonna say greater than 2,000, right? Which that's sort of a lame way of doing stuff, but that's okay. Just for the purposes of what we're doing here. So then, now we got two categories or two buckets. So then what I can do is I could say, I'm going to make a pivot table and I'm going to highlight all of this data and I want to put it in a new worksheet. And I'm going to say, okay, I've got weight buckets. I've got, let me make that bigger. Oops. So I've got less than 2,000 and greater than 2,000. So now I can drag any of these variables in this although I don't want some because I'm not adding. I just simply want the count. Okay. So there are 398 cars or 398 vehicles, 44 are less than 2,000 and 354 are greater than 2,000. So, again, this is a silly way to do it because that's really not helping me this much. I ought to do 2,000 to 3,000, 3,000 to 4,000, 4,000 to 5,000, and so on. However, just for purposes of showing you this, so we have weight buckets. We have a whopping two of those. Now I'm clicking in the pivot table and I'm going to do pivot table analyze, and then I'm going to go to pivot chart. So now, to your point, right? So now I go, okay, I've got bar charts. I've got two buckets. Now, again, not super helpful for analysis purposes, but you can sort of see, okay, so I got 44 that are less than 2,000. I've got 354 greater than 2,000. And if you were gonna, let's say Jackson, you were doing this analysis and your VP of operations says, "Hey, I just need a snapshot. Just tell me how many cars are there and what categories and weight they are so we can order the right equipment to get them from Shanghai to Los Angeles." Oh, okay. Yep. So you might show him or her this. You're like, okay, well, maybe we could get a small ship, um, and we could just take all the smaller vehicles and put them on that. But this other one, whoa, okay, Jackson, that I'm going to need you to break that down a little bit more because that's 354 vehicles, and there's a broad range between 2,000 pounds all the way up to 5,000. So you're going to have to help me discern even more how many are in each of those categories. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's really, again, it's trying to take all this data and simplify it. Simplify it in a way that our brains can go, oh, I get it. There are two buckets, and there's a lot more in the bucket to the right than the bucket to the left. Well, okay, what does that mean? What do I do with that? So, now, let me pause. So, is that help, at least conceptually, help you see how I'm thinking about that?
Yes, this helps a lot.
Okay, good. All right. So, we did the poor man's version. Let's see if we can do the rich man's version here. So, um, had sometimes, to be honest, Jackson, I will get a little performance anxiety. So if I don't get this perfect the first time, you will hopefully forgive me. So
I absolutely understand.
yeah, so I think what I want to do to give more specificity to that bar chart on or bar graph or bar on the right is let's do it by thousands. So we'll do less than 1,000, 1,001 to 2,000, 2,001, and so on. Okay. So what we can do, if we've decided on how we're going to do that, then I'm going to do equals if I'm going to reference that value. If that is greater than, let's say, 5,000, then I'm going to put in quotes, put, because this 5,000 I'm having Excel put there is it's not a number, it's a string. And so I have to put it in quotes. So this first if statement is hey, I want you to look at this number to the left, and if it is greater than 5,000, then I want you to put in the column E the number, or it's not a number, but the value 5,000 plus. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit comma, and then I'm going to put in another if. So basically, this is this idea of if, then else. So it's sort of like, a decision tree. Are you familiar with what a decision tree is?
Yeah, I think so. It's sort of like how it's just like if it's true, it goes one way. If it's false, it goes another way.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So we said, okay, hey Excel, I want you to look at that number in D9, and if it's over 5,000, I want you to put 5,000 plus. If, so basically, if that's not true, then the comma is then if D9 is greater than 4,000, then put, this isn't precisely right, but it'll sort of make the point. Uh, so then it's like, okay, if it's not greater than 5,000, then go see if it's greater than 4,000. And if it is, put 4,000 plus. Else, if D9 greater than 3,000, then put 3,000 plus. Okay. Else, if D9 gets a little monotonous, is greater than 2,000, put 2,000 plus. Else, if D9 greater than 1,000, whoops, put 1,000 plus. Now, since I'm breaking it in increments of 1,000, my only final solution is to say if it's not true at any of those levels, then by definition, I know it's less than, um, uh, what, oh, sorry, put less than 1,000. Oops, sorry, I screwed that up. I told you, a little performance anxiety there. Else, less than 1,000. Okay. Now what gets, and I had to put that string value in quotes, right? So now Excel's gonna get mad at me unless I have the exact equal number of close parentheses that I have in my open. So how many opens do I have? I have one, two, three, four, five. So now I'm going to do one, two, three, four, five. There we go. So let's check it, right? We're going to check and see, did the logic actually work? Well, it did. So 732 is less than 1,000, and therefore this designation of less than 1,000 is correct. Okay.
Got it.
Now, does that make sense?
Yeah, I am a little bit wondering though, what's the little error there for?
I don't know. Excel is a little persnickety. Frankly, I just ignore it. I don't know what
Yeah,
it's doing. I just blow it away and say I don't care. So,
as long as it works, that's what matters.
yeah, oh yeah. Now the other cool thing, Jackson, and maybe you know this already, but when we have a column with contiguous data, meaning there are no empty cells, and I have a formula in the column right next to it, then what I can do is I can either I can move my cursor over to the lower right and I can drag it down. And so it seems to be working, right? So 1613 is indeed greater than 1,000. So that's good. Now, if you're really lazy like I am, I'm just going to go over here to this lower right corner and I'm going to double click and it goes all the way down.
It's very handy.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing when it's 400 rows, but when it's 50,000, it's really handy.
Yeah, I
Um,
bet.
so, it looks like, right, this is working. So that's greater than 5,000. I just like to spot check it, right? Just to make sure, because it's happened to me before. And it's one of those things, sadly, Jackson, that, your boss, he or she might be okay with the bonehead mistake once or twice, but if you keep doing the same mistake, it's not good. So,
Of course.
so that's happened to me before, and so I try to prevent that at all costs. So, looks like the formula's working. That's cool. Now what I'm going to do is get rid of that stupid error. And there we go. So that's done. Now, one thing I recommend just as maybe what I would call, for lack of a better term, data hygiene. So because even though you see the 1,000 plus here, whatever this string is, Excel doesn't see it that way. It's sort of like the Matrix. Have you seen the movie The Matrix?
It's just like how it's only the code or something. I haven't seen it in the movie.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's not AA, by the way. So I'm just saying there's a lot of what I call army language in it. But anyway, so what does that mean? Well, if I start to manipulate this data set and I have not changed the values in these cells from formulas to actual string uh, values that are not changeable, then all of a sudden all of this logic could just get screwed up. And that's never good. So what I will do is sort of what I might call data hygiene is I'm going to highlight that and then I'm going to do Control C. That's just, I want to copy all of that. And then I'm going to right click on that column. I'm going to go paste special and just, I want you to just put the values in there. Okay. So now I don't have the formula anymore, right? All I've got is these values. So, and you might be like, well, why does that matter? Well, if I start messing with this data set, I sure as heck don't want the formula to start grabbing data that shouldn't be there, and then that's when bad things happen. Um, Also, what I can do, and I showed this to another one of your colleagues yesterday, I think. So, one of the cool things about pivot tables is that because I've made this change in this weight bucket, right? We went from, two to now we've got what? We've got one, two, three, four, five. We've got six now. Okay. So again, your boss, he or she says, "Hey, good job, Jackson, but hey, do me a favor, bud. You gotta break this up because it's too many in there." Okay. Well, so we just did that. We did the nested if. We broke it down into 1,000 pound increments. So now that my cursor is inside the pivot table. Now I'm going to go back to pivot table analyze, and I'm going to hit this called refresh.
Oh,
And so now I've got more granularity, right? So now that big bucket of greater than 2,000, now I've got it broken up into 186, 104, 62, and 1. Well, that's very helpful, right? So now I can do better planning, like okay, well, maybe this is one container, and then maybe that one's like a container all by itself. And then maybe I can put all three of these in another container. Don't know, right? But now you can sort of get your head around this and figure out, Okay, I think I can work with this and figure out how to manage it and optimize whatever it is you're going to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. So thank you for letting me record this because I'm gonna, again, it will be unfiltered. I'm just gonna throw it up there, but I'm thinking other people may want to see this too. So,
Yeah, this is a big help for me, so I feel like a lot of people would benefit from it. I'm probably gonna have to look back through it myself just to make sure I'm totally understanding it. But this gave me a much better idea of what I'm doing. Thank you very much.
oh, you bet. No, it's my pleasure. I'm just, let me label this pivot table and chart. I'm going to be a little more specific, bar chart. And then just to make it a little better. Okay. Oh, I neglected to do one thing, Jackson. Woo! I got so excited that I neglected to answer the second part of my question.
Oh yeah, the country of origin.
Yeah, so look at me. I got all excited. Went off and went off into the night and didn't deal with that one. So I say, okay, well, this is cool, but hey, Jackson, this is great, but guess what? I have no idea where these cars are coming from. So you're gonna have to help me out a little bit. So what we're gonna do is we've got this country of origin value, and we can pull that down. And we have
Oh.
we have, I don't know what's going on with that blank one, so I'm just gonna ignore that one for so now let's say one, I mean one could be, I'm just making this up. So one could be Canada, and then two could be Germany, and three could be France. I don't know, something like that. So now, where did my, huh, don't like that. Uh, he's being persnickety. I'm going to do this again. Pivot table, analyze, and pivot chart. Okay. So, now what you can see is, okay, so I got 2000 to 3000. I've got, um, you know, I've got some variability here relative to country of origin. And so I am going to want to say, okay, well, France and Germany are sort of close together, but Canada is way the heck away from those two. So I probably can't have, right? I can't have all of those in the same ship or what have you, because they're other parts of the world. So now I'm saying, okay, anything that's orange or gray, those probably are going to have to go together. Okay. And now I'm going to have to say, can I handle the orange and gray at the 1000 plus and then also add the orange and gray at the 2000 plus? So that I'll have to figure out if that's doable or not. But one thing I do know is that the blue cars, the cars that are represented in blue, they ain't going on the same ship as the orange and the gray, right? Because completely different parts of the world. So,
Right.
so this, yeah, so I'm glad we remembered to do that. This is another way to look at it. That's the beauty of pivot tables. We can look at these things in lots of different ways. If you like that better, maybe that's helpful, right? You can just go crazy and just now, I mean, here, right? We have to remember the colors. There are no there's no differentiation in color, so we have to be real careful. Like, okay, there's a Canada and there's a Canada, so maybe the 87 and 4 can go together. And maybe the Germany here and here can go together, or maybe all three at those three different weight classes could go together. You know what I mean? So really what this idea of categorization or bucketizing, it really helps us to um, for planning purposes, how the heck am I going to manage this, right? And what's the best way to manage it? So, does that make sense?
Yes, yes, this is a big help.
Cool. Well, I know this, we went probably really fast. So I think you are a wise young man. I'm going to look at this recording, and that's the beauty of recording. You can look at this as many times as you want. So,
Yes, I'm glad to have a recording of it.
all right. I am going to, if it's okay with you, I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'll sign off unless there's anything else you think.
No, I think I'm all good right now. I just wanted to go over that. Thank you very much.
You got it. You're welcome. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too, Dr. Ross. Thanks again.
Thank you.